Hi, and welcome to How to Use the Final Paper Research Rubric in English Composition and Other Research and Writing Intensive Courses. First, let's talk about what the Final Research Paper Rubric is. The FERPR, as I like to call it, was a narrative evaluation tool originally developed for seminar and educational inquiry. The old rubric was scored on a 40-point scale with 10 categories. This presented challenges to the incorporation of the rubric. Many faculty simply didn't use it. A few years ago, the Arts Communication and Humanities Committee reworked the rubric. It's now scored on a 50-point scale, and the narrative point scores have been expanded. This makes the rubric more versatile. Why use one rubric? Well, in response to inadequate preparation measured in writing students entering CCV's capstone course, SEI, a new rubric was developed for that class. This rubric was then applied to the evaluation of research writing in the R&WI courses, and now it will be used in English composition. The goal is to strengthen research writing skills throughout the entire sequence by harmonizing expectations. From a faculty point of view, the rubric gives us the opportunity not only to fairly assess these skills, but use of the rubric throughout the student's writing career at CCV acclimates them with a common set of expectations. Writing faculty also come to understand CCV's expectations for student performance. Students understand that the requirements for the research writing early in their CCV writing careers. By seeing the same rubric over several courses, students begin to internalize the research writing process, allowing them to focus more deeply on content. With all that in mind, let's take a look at the final paper evaluation rubric. The rubric has 10 areas of evaluation. Each area is scored on a scale of 1 to 5 points. Each point of an evaluation area has a narrative explanation. The total value of the paper is 50 points. That means a score of 35 is required for a paper to be considered passing. Here's a detailed look at the first point of evaluation in the research paper rubric, the thesis. The first question in the rubric asks the evaluator, do you see evidence of a thesis? 5 points awarded if the answer is yes, there's a strong, arguable thesis that's clear, engaging, and appropriate for the subject. The writer addresses all aspects of the thesis fully. 4 points are awarded if there's an arguable thesis, clear, engaging, and appropriate. The writer addresses most aspects of the thesis, though some ideas may be more fully developed than others. As we go down to 3 points, the language becomes more broad and general and less specific, allowing the evaluator to address these issues in the paper. And we can see the same trend when we move to 2 points and 1 point and 0 points if there is no thesis. Other areas addressed by the rubric include a sense of purpose, critical and creative thinking, sufficient examples and details, organization, fluency, grammar, information literacy, and citations. The benefits of a single rubric are many. Students learn and become familiar with the expectations of the rubric early, allowing them to focus on what's important, strengthening their writing. With a universal rubric, we can point to specific learning outcomes achieved by our students. These outcomes satisfy the general education requirements, as well as the program outcomes for students. With a disparate faculty, the need for universal documentation is critical. This rubric relieves faculty from ambiguity regarding expectations throughout the sequence, and it produces students with consistent skills, no matter which faculty teaches which class. Students can take English composition on the ground in one academic center, and finish with a hybrid SEI class, secure in the knowledge that each class will evaluate research writing, consistency. This makes for fluid transitions. The goals of the rubric are universal goals of good writing, and implementing them early and consistently will create better writers and better thinkers. So how should I use this rubric in my English composition class? Introduce the rubric the first night of class and explain its importance in CCV's writing sequence. Usually teachers assign an argument paper, which is the ideal location to implement the rubric. Remember, the research component in English composition is not a high-stakes item. For the research and writing intensive classes, follow similar patterns. Introduce the rubric on the first night of class. Explain to them that the high-stakes paper means they need to earn a 70% or better based on the evaluation of the rubric. Design activities around aspects of the rubric, especially emphasizing the thesis. Use the rubric to give point-by-point detailed feedback on the rough draft so that the student has enough time to revise effectively. You can find a copy of the final research paper rubric at the CCV Writing Center.